Hi, I'm John Mazzola. I'm an officer on the Board of Directors of the Federation of Italian American Organizations of Brooklyn, and I'm proud today to tell you a little bit about my family history. My grandfather on my mother's side came over in the early turn of the century, in the early 1900s. He was 13 years old when he left Calabria. Favazzina is a small little town next to Sheila. From his town, you could actually see Sicily. He came over at 13 years old to this country by himself with one of his friends, without no parents, and eventually he brought over his two sisters and his brother. His brother left later on. He came and stood. They worked in Gimbel Brothers, and they worked for, my grandfather did tons of jobs, construction work. He owned a pastry store in Little Italy at one time when he met my grandmother. My grandmother came to this country at the turn of the century as well. They both went through Ellis Island. She came in with her mother, her father, and her two sisters. After a year being here, her mother passed away, and her father had to put the three daughters in an orphanage. She was raised by Mother Cabrini in the missionary of the Sisters of the Sacred Heart in West Point, New York. My father, Francesco Mazzola, was born in Castelbuono, Sicily in 1929. He came after serving in the Italian army. He left for Milan. He started out in Italy at 6 years old being a tailor. He worked his way up and he went to Milan. From Milan, he got a call from my grandmother's brother, which lived over here in New York, in Brooklyn. And at the time in the 50s, they needed tailors to come over here. So he was sponsored by Brooks Brothers to come over here and work. He came here and worked, and he found a life over here. But he raised two families. He actually supported my grandmother and my uncle in Italy, and he supported us. I was born in 1966 over here in Brooklyn, New York, on 18th Avenue, not too far from Il Centro. The time when I was growing up, this whole neighborhood was an Italian neighborhood. When you'd walk around 18th Avenue, all you heard was Italian spoken in the streets. We had latticine, salamarias, meat stores, the butcher. We used to have a man come with a truck, and he used to sell cheese and macaroni, pasta on the truck. He used to ring your doorbell, and he used to sell cheese and pasta and olive oil. That's my childhood. My childhood over here in Brooklyn was beautiful. It was a really nice childhood growing up in Brooklyn. This is the type of neighborhood we grew up. It was a family-oriented neighborhood over here, 18th Avenue. What inspired me over here was where I lived, I had my grandmother around the corner, my grandfather's sister, I had my mother's sister. We all lived in houses all right next to each other. So we had a big family unity here. So growing up, for me, Christmas time was 50, 60 people in a house. It was a fun time growing up over here with all my cousins. From there, I went to college. I went to the same public schools that my mother went to, the same elementary school, same junior high school as my mother. I graduated from PS 180 and Shallow, and so did my mother and her brothers and sisters. From there, I went on to FDR, and then I went to college. So I would go to college during the day, and I would work at night. So I learned the business from the bottom up. Right now, I am Senior Vice President of BCNY Building Maintenance Company. We're located in Manhattan on Madison Avenue, between 5th and Madison Avenue and 38th Street. I've worked there for the past 23 years as Senior Vice President. My clients are Ralph Lauren, Movado Watch, Thor Equities, Ballet Hispanico, also the Federation of Italian American Organizations. We have our maintenance crews all over the city. It's been a privilege to to be on the board of directors of the Federation of Italian American Organizations as an officer. Now I am secretary on the board. For me, I come in here every day and I enjoy the interactions with everybody that's here, of every background. We have so many walks of life in here. We have young people, old people, middle-aged people, programs that we offer to the community. I walk in here during the day and there isn't one person that I could not stop and speak with. And I find out about people's walks of life. It's beautiful. It's a really beautiful building. For me, it's a win-win for the whole entire community over here, and I'm proud to be a part of the board of directors. I became inspired by my father. My father had a very strong work ethic. My father would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, take the train to the shop, the factory. He used to work for Brooks Brothers in Astoria, Queens. He used to come home at 6 o'clock at night. I remember my father coming home in the winters with the hat on, freezing cold, and my mother would have dinner ready at 6 o'clock for him as soon as he got in the house. That's the way we grew up in this neighborhood. The most proud thing I have in my life is my daughter, besides my being part of the board, but my daughter is number one. I like to be remembered by all the things I've done to accomplish and to try and continue my father's legacy, and to be remembered by somebody that gave back to the community. Everybody should give back, whether you're rich or poor, you should give back to the community. And for me, that's a main thing, to give back and not just to take.